Right now, you're living in two lives at the same time. One life is the routine you wake up to every morning, the same patterns, the same problems, the same cycle that never seems to break. The other life is the one you feel deep inside, the life you know you're meant to live. You can almost taste it, almost touch it, almost see it, but it never quite becomes real. That tension inside you, that restless pull, it's not a sign you're broken. It's proof. Proof that a quantum jump is already trying to happen in you. And here's the brutal truth. The leap you're waiting for isn't going to come from another motivational quote, another quick hack, or another burst of inspiration. It's not about luck. It's not about someone handing you an easy three-step formula. A real quantum leap requires something far harder. It requires the death of who you are right now. This is the truth nobody wants to tell you, but it's the only truth that sets you free. Before we start tearing down the lies, let me show you the journey we're stepping into. Together, we begin by exposing the seductive illusions, the polished stories and false promises that make transformation look easy while secretly keeping you stuck. Next, we'll enter the identity collapse, the painful, necessary stage where the person you've been has to dissolve before the person you're becoming can emerge. Then we'll face the desert of becoming, the in-between where nothing feels familiar, and you wonder if you've lost your way. After that comes the forge of relentless action, the place where motivation dies and daily discipline takes over, creating the momentum for a true quantum jump. But the closer you get, the harder it becomes. Old patterns will fight back, doubts will scream louder. This is the backlash of resistance, the storm that rises just before breakthrough. Push through, and you'll notice something quiet but undeniable: the emergence of the new you. That moment when you realize the leap has already happened, you've crossed into a new reality. And finally, we'll face the challenge of sustaining your new self, the test of holding on to your transformation and preparing for the next leap. This is the map. This is the path of a real quantum jump. And it begins here. We live in a world that sells transformation like fast food. Scroll through social media for a few minutes, and you'll see it. The before and after photos, the quick hacks, the people who make massive change look effortless. But here's the truth, that's not a quantum leap. That's marketing. What they don't show you is the brutal middle, the sleepless nights, the constant doubt, the failures, the confusion, the days when nothing makes sense. And the danger is this: when you compare your messy, real, uncomfortable journey to their polished highlight reels, you feel like you're failing, but you're not failing. You're on the path. Because a true quantum jump is never instant, never effortless, and never clean. It's messy, it's raw, and it changes you from the inside out. It's not just Instagram. The self-help industry has built an empire on keeping you stuck. They say, just think positive, just raise your vibration, just visualize harder. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But here's what happens. You try it, you feel a burst of hope, and when it doesn't work, you blame yourself. You think you're not spiritual enough, not focused enough, not disciplined enough, and then, just as you're sinking into frustration, they sell you the next book, the next course, the next shiny secret. It's a loop. Hope, disappointment, new technique, repeat. This isn't a quantum jump. This is spiritual entertainment. It feels good for a moment, but it keeps you exactly where you are. The truth is, you can't bypass the pain of transformation with fake positivity. A quantum leap demands that you face the darkness, not escape it. Now let's talk about why it feels so hard to change, even when you desperately want it. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's wiring. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. And to your brain, safe means familiar, predictable, comfortable. Even if your comfort is miserable, your brain prefers it to the unknown, because the unknown feels dangerous. So every time you move toward a quantum jump, alarms go off. Fear kicks in. Procrastination shows up. Distractions appear. It's not because you're broken. It's because your brain is doing what it was built to do, protect you. But protection is not the same as freedom. And if you don't learn to override those alarms, You'll stay locked in the life you're in, never stepping into the life you're meant for. And here's the truth most people will never say out loud. A real quantum leap requires the death of your current self. That's why it feels like grief. Because it is grief. You're saying goodbye to your old patterns, your old identity, your old ways of being. And that grief is terrifying. It feels like you're losing everything. But what you're really losing is the cage you've been living in. Most people run from this. They want the leap without the loss, the butterfly without the dissolving, the new life without the death of the old one. But there's no way around it, only through. And if you're feeling that pull right now, that sense that who you've been is falling apart while something new is trying to be born, then you're not failing. You're already in the process of your quantum jump. So here's where we land today. The easy stories about transformation are lies. The highlight reels, the quick fixes, the slogans, they're designed to keep you stuck. The truth is harder. A real quantum leap isn't clean. It isn't instant. It isn't effortless. It's painful. It's messy. It demands the death of the old you. But on the other side, it gives you something no trick or shortcut can, the life you were meant to live. And that's just the beginning. Because the next stage of this journey will take us into the heart of identity collapse, where the person you've always been dissolves, and the person you're meant to become finally has room to breathe. If you're ready to stop living in lies and start facing truth, say it now, write it now, own it now, ready for truth. Because your next quantum jump is already calling you. You've been told that a quantum jump is about becoming more successful, more confident, more powerful. But here's the part no one prepares you for. Before you become more, you must first become nothing. A caterpillar doesn't just grow wings and suddenly fly away. It dissolves. Inside the cocoon, its body breaks down into a formless soup. It completely loses its old identity before anything new can emerge. That's what a real quantum leap feels like. It's not addition, it's subtraction. It's not growth on top of who you are now. It's the collapse of everything you thought you were, and this collapse is the most frightening stage of transformation, because it feels like death. In many ways it is, but it's also the only doorway to becoming who you're meant to be. Let's start here. The version of you that got you this far cannot take you where you're going. That identity, with its habits, its fears, its patterns, is designed for your current level of life. If you try to carry it into your next quantum jump, it becomes dead weight. Think about it. If the life you want required the person you already are, you'd already have it. The fact that you don't is proof that something in you has to die before the leap can happen. This is where most people get stuck. They want transformation without loss. They want to expand into a new reality while clinging to their old one. But a quantum leap isn't expansion of the old self. It's the birth of a new self, which means the old one has to go. Here's a brutal truth. When your identity collapses, your relationships shift too. Some people will resist your growth, not because they don't love you, but because they're attached to the version of you they've always known. Your change threatens their comfort. Friends might say things like, "You've changed." Family might pressure you to stay grounded. Some may even turn cold or distant. And here's the hardest part. You will feel the loneliness of outgrowing your tribe. You'll feel the sting of realizing that not everyone can walk with you into your new reality. But this is part of a quantum jump. Every evolution involves shedding, not just of identity, but of connections that only fit the old version of you. The grief of losing those attachments is real. But so is the freedom you gain when you stop living to please the expectations of others. Your mind doesn't like collapse. When your identity starts to dissolve, your psyche wages war to hold it together. It shows up as the voice of doubt. Who do you think you are? It shows up as self-sabotage, disguised as realism. Be practical. Don't aim so high. It shows up as sudden exhaustion, procrastination, even physical sickness. This isn't random. It's your system fighting for survival. Your old identity is trying to save itself, even if it means keeping you small. And this is why so many people give up right here. The moment they start stepping into their leap, the resistance rises like a tidal wave. But if you know this is part of the process, you won't panic. You'll recognize it for what it is, the final battle of the old self trying not to die. And if you can hold your ground through that storm, the collapse completes and the new self begins to form. Inside every person who makes a true quantum leap, there's a destroyer. A force that doesn't just build, but also burns. You've felt it before, the restless urge to quit a job, to walk away from a relationship, to tear down a life that looked fine on the outside, but felt wrong on the inside. That destroyer isn't sabotage. It's sacred, because sometimes the only way forward is to set fire to what no longer serves you. This doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean blowing up your life without thought. It means consciously dismantling what's false so that what's true can finally breathe. When you embrace the destroyer within, you stop being afraid of endings. You stop clinging to what's safe. You realize that destruction and creation are the same force, two sides of the same leap. And suddenly, collapse isn't something to fear. It's something to welcome. Ask yourself, where am I holding on to an identity that no longer fits me? Who am I afraid to disappoint if I become who I really am? What part of me do I secretly know must die for me to make my leap? These aren't easy questions, but answering them with honesty is the first step toward real transformation. Because until you're willing to let go of who you are, you can't step into who you're meant to be. I know this stage well. I once lived in what I now call comfortable misery. Life looked stable on the outside, but inside I was slowly suffocating. Every time I thought about leaving that identity behind, the fear felt unbearable. Who would I be if I wasn't that version of myself? Would anyone still love me? Would I even love myself? It wasn't until I let it all collapse, the identity, the expectations, the relationships that held me small, that I realized the grief of collapse was lighter than the misery of staying the same. And that's when the leap began. This is the brutal truth. A quantum jump isn't about becoming more. It's about becoming nothing, dissolving who you are so that who you're meant to be can finally rise. It feels like death. It feels like loss. But it's not the end. It's the beginning, because once your old identity collapses, you're finally free to build something real. And that's where we go next. Into the desert, the in-between, the terrifying gap between who you were and who you're becoming, where nothing feels solid and everything feels uncertain. If you've ever felt lost in that void, like you don't even recognize yourself anymore, stay with me, because that's not failure. That's the sign you're right on track. And if you're ready to let the old you collapse so the real you can finally emerge, claim it now. Ready to let go. Your quantum leap is already in motion. The dark night of the soul isn't poetic when you're in it. It doesn't feel mystical or inspiring. It feels empty. It feels like losing your mind. It feels like losing your grip on everything that once made sense. That's the desert of becoming. And if you're here, it means your quantum jump is already underway. You've left behind the old you. The identity you once clung to has collapsed, and you no longer fit into the life that once felt normal. But you're not fully the new you yet either. You're caught in the space between. The cocoon has melted, but the wings haven't formed. This is the desert, and it's the most disorienting stage of all. Most people mistake this for failure. They think they've lost their spark, their clarity, their drive. They call it burnout, depression, or confusion. But this isn't failure. It's preparation. When you're in the desert, the old maps don't work anymore. The compass you've relied on your entire life is gone. The reference points that made you feel safe have dissolved. And it's terrifying, but it's also necessary, because a quantum leap doesn't come from following old maps. It comes from learning to trust yourself in a whole new way. The desert strips you of the illusions you used to lean on. You can't fake your way through this. You can't pretend you know who you are. Every mask falls off. Every label feels false. And that's exactly the point. You are being emptied, so you can be rebuilt. The in-between space isn't a mistake. It's the birthplace of your next reality. But let's be honest, it hurts, it feels lonely. You'll notice that people around you don't understand. You'll hear questions like, "What's wrong with you?" or "Why aren't you yourself lately?" And you won't have an answer because you don't fully know who you are right now. That's the price of a real quantum jump. When you're shedding your old skin, the world no longer recognizes you, and sometimes you don't even recognize yourself. And yet, this stage is sacred. Think about it. When everything familiar is stripped away, you have no choice but to face yourself. No roles to hide behind. No routines to keep you numb. Just you, raw and unfiltered. That's where real power is born. Because once you survive that emptiness, you realize you're not defined by the things you lost. You're defined by the strength that carried you through. In the desert, time feels strange. Some days crawl by like nothing is happening, and other days feel like everything inside you is changing at once. You'll question whether you're on the right path. You'll wonder if you're wasting your life. You'll think about going back to your old comfort zone because at least it was familiar. But if you resist the urge to run back, if you stay in the desert long enough, something remarkable happens. You begin to notice new signals, subtle ones at first, a flicker of intuition, a sudden knowing that can't be explained, a strength that rises even when nothing outside has changed. That's how a quantum leap grows roots, not through certainty, but through learning to walk when you can't see the path. The desert teaches you adaptability. It teaches you to trust what's emerging instead of clinging to what's collapsing. It teaches you to stand strong in the unknown, which is the exact skill you'll need for the new reality that's waiting. Yes, it's isolating. You'll feel like nobody understands. And that's true, they can't, because this journey is yours alone. You're building a self that never existed before, and nobody else can explain it to you. But solitude isn't punishment. It's the training ground where you discover how powerful you actually are when all the noise is stripped away. I remember my own desert, days when I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back, nights where I felt like I was unraveling. I thought something was wrong with me, but now I understand. That unraveling was the very proof that my old identity had collapsed and my leap was in motion. What I thought was the end was actually the middle of the process. So if you feel lost, confused, or even broken right now, let me tell you the truth. You're not broken. You're in the exact place you need to be. Because the desert is not a mistake. It's the evidence that your quantum jump is real, and here's the hardest part. You can't rush it. You can't fast forward through the emptiness. The desert has its own timing. And if you try to escape too soon, you'll fall back into the old life you were trying to leave. The only way through is through, one uncertain step at a time. But here's what you can do. Create small anchor points, simple rituals that ground you when everything feels chaotic. Go for a walk, write down what you're feeling, breathe deeply when panic rises. These aren't fixes. They're reminders that even when your identity is dissolving, you are still here. You are still alive. You are still moving forward, and slowly, the desert begins to change. The emptiness you feared becomes space. The silence you hated becomes clarity. The darkness you resisted becomes the womb of your rebirth. And then, without warning, you'll notice that the leap you've been waiting for isn't ahead of you anymore. It's already happening inside you. This is the gift of the desert. It strips away everything false, so that when you finally emerge, you aren't just stepping into a new life, you're stepping into a life that actually belongs to you. The desert is where the caterpillar dissolves and the butterfly begins to take shape. It's where the old self dies and the new self is quietly born. And though it feels like chaos, it's actually sacred order. So if you're in the desert right now, don't run, don't panic, don't go back, stay, breathe, trust the process. Because surviving this stage is proof that your quantum leap is real. And your new reality is closer than you think. And when you finally step out of the desert, you'll enter the forge, the place where your leap becomes visible through action. It's where motivation dies, discipline takes over, and every small, unglamorous step begins to add up to the reality you've been reaching for all along. But for now, let the desert do its work. It's not the end, it's the passage. And if you can endure this void, you'll discover that the emptiness you fear is actually the doorway to everything you've been waiting for. Motivation feels good, but it doesn't last. And that's why so many people never make their quantum jump. They wait for inspiration to strike, for energy to flow, for the perfect moment to arrive. But in the forge, motivation dies, discipline is born, and this is where real transformation happens. The forge doesn't look glamorous. From the outside, it looks ordinary. Daily habits, small steps, boring consistency. No fireworks, no big breakthroughs, no instant gratification. But inside, something enormous is happening. Your brain is rewiring. Your patterns are shifting. Your future self is being forged in the fire of daily action. And though it looks quiet, this is the place where your leap becomes real. Most people get trapped waiting to feel ready. They say, "I'll start when I have more energy. I'll take action when I feel inspired. I'll commit when the timing is right." But here's the truth. If you wait for the right feeling, you'll wait forever. A quantum leap doesn't care about your feelings. It's built on action taken when you least feel like it. Think about steel being forged. It doesn't become strong in comfort. It becomes strong when it's pressed, hammered, and tempered under fire. That's what daily action does for you in this stage. Every repetition, every small step, every choice you make when you don't feel like it all adds up. Over time, what looks boring from the outside becomes extraordinary from the inside. This is where your old patterns fight the hardest. Distraction feels louder. Excuses feel more convincing. You'll find yourself saying, "It doesn't matter if I skip today," or "I'll double up tomorrow." But this is the trap. Because the leap you're building isn't about a single big action. It's about the compound effect of small, repeated steps. The forge burns away your excuses. It teaches you to act when you don't feel like acting. That's how discipline is born. And here's the paradox. Discipline feels harsh at first, but it becomes freedom. When you act regardless of mood, you stop being a slave to your feelings. You stop negotiating with yourself. You start moving forward even when resistance tries to hold you back. And suddenly, momentum builds. The forge turns chaos into progress. Failure becomes part of this stage too, but not in the way you've been taught to fear it. In the forge, failure isn't proof you're off track. It's raw material for growth. Every mistake shows you what doesn't work. Every setback becomes a redirection. The only way you truly fail in a quantum leap is if you stop showing up. As long as you keep moving, even clumsily, you're still in the fire, and the fire is still shaping you. I'll be real with you. This stage is hard. It's repetitive. It feels endless. You'll wonder if your actions are making any difference. You'll doubt yourself. You'll be tempted to quit because you can't see the results yet. But that's the very nature of a quantum jump. The leap doesn't look like much in the middle. It looks boring. It looks small. It looks like nothing is happening. And then, suddenly, everything shifts. The forge also forces honesty. You can't hide here. You can't pretend you're doing the work if you're not. The mirror of accountability stares you down. Are you acting, or are you just talking about acting? Are you building, or are you just planning to build? Are you moving forward, or are you just waiting for the right mood? When you start answering those questions with honesty, even brutally honest honesty, something changes. You stop making excuses. You start seeing patterns clearly. You start realizing where you've been lying to yourself. And in that moment, the leap grows closer, because truth is the fuel of transformation. I remember my own forge. There were weeks where nothing seemed to change, where my actions felt invisible, pointless, wasted. I wanted fireworks, but all I got was silence. Yet I kept going. And then one day, without warning, I realized everything had shifted. The work that once felt impossible became natural. The actions that drained me became part of who I was. That's what the forge does. It turns effort into identity. If you're here now, let me speak directly to you. Don't underestimate the small steps. Don't dismiss the boring actions. Don't quit because it doesn't feel exciting. This is exactly where your quantum jump is being built. The daily grind is the fire, and the fire is shaping you into someone who can hold the life you're moving into. And here's the key. Don't wait to feel ready. Readiness is a trap. Action creates readiness. Action builds the strength. Action forges the leap. So take the step, then the next one, and the next, even when it feels pointless, even when it feels invisible, even when it feels boring. Because all of it is being stored. None of it is wasted. And one day, it will erupt into a leap so massive it shocks even you. This is the stage most people run from because it doesn't look dramatic. But that's exactly why it's powerful. The Forge strips away your illusions about instant success. It forces you to face reality. It humbles you. It tests you. And if you stay in the fire long enough, it transforms you. Your quantum jump doesn't happen in the highlight moments. It happens in the Forge, in the quiet, repetitive, unglamorous work that nobody sees, in the fire that burns away your excuses and reveals your strength. So if you're here, don't despair. Don't give up. Don't wait for motivation. Stay in the fire. Keep acting. Keep moving. Keep building. Because the Forge isn't punishment. It's preparation. And the leap you're reaching for is being shaped with every single step you take. And when you've endured the fire long enough, when the daily grind has carved you into someone new, you'll face the next stage, the backlash, the resistance that intensifies just when you're about to break through. Because your old patterns won't let go quietly. They'll make one last desperate attempt to drag you back. But if you know it's coming, you'll be ready, and you'll rise. You've been pushing forward. You've been building momentum. You've been doing the quiet, unglamorous work in the Forge, and slowly it's been shaping you into someone new. And just when you think you're about to break through, something strange happens. Instead of life getting easier, it suddenly gets harder. Old patterns rise up stronger than before. Doubts scream louder. Distractions multiply. Everything in you feels like it's being pulled backward. This is the backlash of resistance. And it's the storm that always comes right before a quantum jump. Most people don't expect this. They think the closer they get to breakthrough, the smoother it should feel. They believe progress should make life easier. But the truth is, your old identity doesn't go quietly. It fights to survive. It clings to you like a shadow, doing everything it can to drag you back into the comfort zone. And because it feels so intense, many people mistake this stage for a sign they're failing. They think they're off track. They believe they're slipping back. In reality, the opposite is true. The backlash means you're right on the edge of your quantum leap. Here's why. Every time you step into something bigger, your old neural pathways, your old habits, your old patterns don't simply vanish. They resist. They make one final attempt to reclaim their place in your life. It's like pulling a rubber band. The further you stretch it, the harder it pulls back. That's what's happening here. The resistance you feel isn't proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're almost free. But make no mistake, this stage is brutal. You'll notice yourself falling into behaviors you thought you'd already outgrown. You'll hear the voice of self-doubt whisper, "You're not ready. Who do you think you are?" You'll find yourself tempted to sabotage your own progress, skipping the habits you've been building, making choices that pull you off track, even picking fights or creating drama to distract yourself from the discomfort of growth. It's not random, it's resistance. It's your old identity making a desperate last stand. The danger here is believing the lies resistance tells. It will say things like, "This leap isn't for you. You're not cut out for this. Maybe you should go back to how things were." And if you believe that voice, you'll retreat. You'll go back to the life you fought so hard to leave. And the leap will vanish, not because it wasn't possible, but because you surrendered to the backlash. But if you recognize resistance for what it is, the dying breath of your old self, everything changes. You stop seeing it as failure. You start seeing it as confirmation. You realize if resistance is this strong, it means I'm right at the edge of my quantum jump. And instead of retreating, you lean in. This stage also reveals something powerful. Success can feel more uncomfortable than failure. Failure is familiar. Struggle is predictable. But success is foreign territory. It challenges your identity. It asks you to believe you deserve more, to hold more, to live bigger. And for many people, that feels terrifying. It's why imposter syndrome often shows up right here. You're stepping into a life you've never known before. And part of you resists because it feels too big, too unreal, too good to be true. But here's the truth. If your leap didn't scare you, it wouldn't be a leap. If it didn't stretch you to the edge of your limits, it wouldn't be transformation. The fear you feel isn't a stop sign. It's a signal. It's telling you that you're stepping into new territory and your nervous system is adjusting to the expansion. This is also the point where many people experience breakdowns. They think, why is everything falling apart now when I've been doing the work? But the breakdown is part of the breakthrough. The old self is cracking, the old identity is burning, and that process is chaotic. It looks like chaos on the outside, but on the inside, a new order is forming. The key in this stage is persistence. Keep showing up in the fire. Keep taking the steps, even when they feel harder than before. Remember that resistance is strongest right before it breaks. Don't confuse the storm for failure. See it as proof that the leap is near. I know this stage intimately. There were times in my own transformation where I felt like everything was collapsing at once. The doubts in my head grew so loud I thought I'd lose my mind. Old habits I thought I'd buried came roaring back. I wanted to quit. I wanted to run back to safety. But the one thing I didn't do was stop moving. Even when my steps were shaky, even when I felt like I was crawling, I kept going. And eventually, the storm passed. On the other side, I realized the resistance had been the final test. It had tried to break me, but it had also forged me. And that's what this stage really is, the test. Resistance is the gatekeeper of the quantum leap. It won't let you pass easily. It will test your commitment. It will test your courage. It will test whether you're truly ready to leave behind the old life for good. And if you stand firm, if you refuse to retreat, the gate will open. So if you feel like you're being dragged backward, if you feel like everything is rising against you, hear me clearly. You are not failing. You are not cursed. You are not stuck. You are facing the final stand of your old identity. And if you can hold steady, if you can keep going through the storm, you will step into a reality that feels almost unrecognizable. The backlash of resistance is not the end of your journey. It's the threshold. And if you cross it, you'll find yourself in a new space, a place of quiet arrival, where the leap you've been fighting for is no longer something in the distance. It's something you've already become, so hold the line. Stay the course. Don't run back. Don't quit now. Because the storm that feels like it's tearing you apart is actually the storm that proves you're about to be reborn. And when the backlash passes, you'll realize that your quantum jump isn't just possible. It's already happening. After the storm of resistance, something shifts. It doesn't always happen with fireworks or grand celebrations. In fact, most of the time it's quiet, subtle, almost easy to miss. But if you pay attention, you'll notice it, the emergence of the new you. This is the moment where the quantum leap you've been fighting for is no longer ahead of you. It's already inside you. You've crossed the threshold, and even though the outside world might look the same, you know deep down that nothing is the same anymore. At first, the signs are small. The things that used to trigger you don't feel as heavy. The habits that once drained you feel easier to maintain. The choices that used to take all your willpower now happen almost naturally. It's like the hard edges of your old self have softened, and a new identity is starting to breathe through you. This is how you recognize that the leap has happened, not in one giant explosion of change, but in the quiet realization that who you are today cannot be compared to who you were before. This stage can feel strange because it's not as dramatic as the collapse or the desert or the forge. You expect a quantum jump to feel like lightning, but instead, it often feels like peace. A deep calm settles in. The war inside your head quiets. For the first time in a long time, you trust yourself. Not because you think you're perfect or because life is suddenly easy, but because you've proven to yourself that you can survive your own evolution. That trust is the real gift of this stage. When you begin to operate from your new identity, you notice that old coping mechanisms no longer work. The distractions, the excuses, the small comforts you used to run to, they've lost their grip. You've outgrown them. And at first, this feels disorienting because those old habits were familiar. But very quickly, you see the freedom in it. You don't need them anymore. You're standing on new ground. A real quantum leap doesn't just give you new results. It gives you a new self. And this new self comes with a kind of power that feels different from anything you've known before. Not the loud power of achievement or status, but the quiet power of knowing you can trust yourself. You've faced the collapse. You've walked through the desert. You've endured the forge. You've survived the backlash. And now you know, without question, that you can handle whatever comes. That confidence is unshakable because it's not based on outside validation. It's based on surviving your own transformation. As this new identity emerges, something else happens. The ripple effect. People around you start to notice. They might not be able to name it, but they feel it. They see it in the way you carry yourself, the way you respond, the way you move through the world. And here's the paradox. Your leap wasn't just about you. Your transformation becomes a mirror for others, showing them what's possible for themselves. Some will be inspired by this. Your courage will give them permission to face their own leaps, but others might resist it. They may feel uncomfortable around you because your growth challenges their excuses. And that's okay. You're not here to drag anyone along. You're here to embody the truth of your own evolution. The right people will rise with you. This stage also brings an interesting test: imposter syndrome. You've leapt into a new reality, but part of you still feels like the old self, like you don't fully deserve what you've become. You'll have moments where you wonder, do I really belong here? What if it all disappears? That voice will whisper in the background, but here's the truth. Belonging isn't something you wait for others to give you. Belonging is what you claim. The fact that you've survived this journey is proof that you belong in your new reality. I remember when I first stepped into my own emergence. I thought it would feel like fireworks, but it didn't. It felt like a quiet morning where I realized I wasn't the same person I had been. My fears didn't disappear, but they no longer controlled me. My doubts didn't vanish, but they no longer stopped me. It wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. Because for the first time, I felt at home in myself. That's what emergence feels like. Not dramatic, but undeniable. And here's the most important thing. Don't rush past this stage. Don't dismiss it because it feels subtle. This is the moment to honor yourself, to notice the shifts, to acknowledge the strength it took to get here. Gratitude is the key. Thank the version of you that was willing to let go, that was willing to suffer, that was willing to die, so this new self could be born. Gratitude grounds the leap. It makes the transformation real. As you settle into this new identity, you'll realize something profound. The quantum jump you thought was the goal was never really the end. It was preparation. Because now that you've emerged, you'll see more clearly. You'll realize that this leap has opened the doorway to another and another and another. Transformation doesn't stop. It keeps calling you forward. But before the next leap comes, there's one final stage to master: sustaining your new reality. Because here's the tragedy. Many people reach this point. They taste the breakthrough, they feel the emergence, and then they slide back. The gravitational pull of old comfort zones tries to drag them into the life they've already outgrown. And if they don't learn how to sustain their new identity, the leap is lost. So as we close this stage, hear this. The emergence of the new you is not the end of your journey. It's the confirmation that your leap was real. It's the moment you realize you are not the person you used to be. It's the recognition that your new identity is here, alive, breathing, ready to carry you forward. Honor it, protect it, live it, because the leap you've made is proof that transformation is not just possible, it's already yours. And as we step into the final stage, we'll face the challenge of keeping it alive. Because your quantum jump isn't just about arriving, it's about staying. You've made it through collapse, through the desert, through the forge, through the storm of resistance. You've emerged as someone new, and for the first time, you can feel the weight of your quantum jump settling into your bones. But here's the brutal truth most people don't realize. Making the leap is only half the story. The real challenge begins after the breakthrough, because once you've become this new version of yourself, you now face the task of sustaining it. This is where so many people fail. They taste transformation, they feel alive, they experience the leap, and then slowly, quietly, almost without noticing, they slip back into their old patterns. Think of lottery winners who go bankrupt within a few years, or people who lose the weight only to gain it back, or entrepreneurs who rise fast and then crash. The leap isn't the problem. The problem is sustainability. Without anchoring the new identity, the gravitational pull of the old life drags people back. Why does this happen? Because comfort zones don't disappear, they wait. They lurk in the background, calling you back with promises of safety, familiarity, ease. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake those whispers for peace when really they're regression. The truth is, a quantum leap changes who you are, but the world around you often stays the same. Old environments, old people, old habits will invite you to return to who you used to be. And unless you guard your new identity fiercely, you'll find yourself drifting back without even realizing it. So how do you sustain your new reality? The first step is vigilance. Pay attention to the early warning signs of regression. Notice when old habits start creeping in. Notice when old beliefs begin whispering again. Don't wait until you've fallen back to recognize it. Catch it early. The moment you feel yourself slipping, pause and ask, am I living as the new me, or am I falling back into the old me? That single question can save your leap. The second step is integration. A quantum jump isn't complete until it's embodied. It's not enough to have changed once. You must build daily practices that reinforce the new identity until it becomes your natural way of living. This means creating routines, rituals, and systems that anchor the leap into your nervous system. For example, if your leap required discipline, then discipline must remain part of your life. If your leap required courage, then courage must continue to be exercised daily. What got you here must now become who you are. And here's something many people miss. Sustaining your leap doesn't mean staying in constant growth mode. It doesn't mean pushing yourself to leap again immediately. Sometimes sustaining means resting. Sometimes it means letting your new identity settle. Just like muscles need recovery after being stretched, your soul needs time to embody its expansion. If you mistake sustainability for endless striving, you'll burn out and lose the very leap you worked so hard for. But once your new identity feels stable, something else will happen. A new call will arrive. Another leap will begin whispering to you. And this is where you must learn balance. Because if you chase quantum jumps recklessly, you'll become addicted to change, never allowing yourself to enjoy the life you've created. But if you resist new leaps entirely, you'll stagnate and slowly decay back into old patterns. Sustaining your reality means holding both truths, honoring the leap you've already made while preparing for the leap that will inevitably call you next. There's also a responsibility that comes with this stage. When you've crossed a threshold, people will notice. Some will look to you for guidance. Some will hope you can save them. And here's the hard truth, you can't. You can share your story. You can inspire. You can model what's possible. But you can't drag someone into their leap before they're ready. If you try, you'll drain yourself and rob them of the very growth they need. Sustaining your reality means protecting your energy. It means leading by example, not by force. I remember when I first sustained my leap. At first, I thought it would feel easy. I thought the hardest part was behind me. But I quickly realized that comfort was waiting, calling me back, tempting me to relax into old ways. I had to make a choice. Was I going to live as the new me, or would I let the old me sneak back in? It wasn't a one-time decision. It was daily. sometimes hourly. Sustaining wasn't passive. It was active. It was conscious. It required as much courage as the leap itself. The gift of this stage is legacy. When you sustain your leap, you don't just change your life, you change the lives around you. Your presence shifts. Your choices ripple outward. Your family, your friends, your community all feel the impact of your transformation. And whether you realize it or not, your leap becomes permission for others to take their own. This is how change spreads, not through preaching, but through embodiment. By living your leap fully, you create a living invitation for others to rise. And here's the most beautiful part: sustaining your reality proves to you that your leap wasn't luck. It wasn't temporary. It wasn't a fluke. It was real. It was permanent. It was earned. And when you see that, your confidence deepens. You realize you can handle not just this leap, but any leap that calls you in the future. You become anti-fragile, someone who doesn't just survive transformation, but thrives in it. So here we are, at the end of this journey. You've seen the illusions that kept you trapped. You've survived the collapse of identity. You've wandered through the desert, endured the forge, faced the storm of resistance, and emerged as someone new. And now you stand at the threshold of sustainability. The question isn't whether you can leap. You already have. The question now is, will you honor it? Will you protect it? Will you live it every single day until it becomes who you are forever? Because the brutal truth is this: your next quantum jump is already waiting. Transformation doesn't end. Life will keep calling you forward again and again. But now, you're not the same person who started this journey. You've proven to yourself that you can collapse, rebuild, endure, rise, and sustain. You've proven that you can die to the old and be reborn to the new. You've proven that you are capable of leaping into realities that once felt impossible. So honor this leap. Sustain it, live it. And when the next call comes, and it will, you'll be ready. Because you'll know the truth. A quantum jump is never a single event. It's a way of living. It's the rhythm of evolution itself. And the fact that you're here, listening, breathing, becoming, is proof that you're already part of that rhythm. So I leave you with this. Don't let your leap fade into memory. Embody it, protect it, celebrate it, sustain it. And when the future calls you into your next leap, step boldly. Because you now know what most people never discover, that the brutal truth of a quantum jump is also the most liberating truth of all.